Thank you, councillors, for your patience tonight. Can I, first, as I open the meeting, state that this council meeting is being recorded and will be published online via Facebook. To those present in the meeting today, by participating in this public meeting, you are consenting to your image, voice and comments being recorded and published. The Mayor and or the General Manager have the authority to pause the recording if comments or debate are considered defamatory or otherwise inappropriate for publishing. Participants are advised that they may be subject to legal action if they engage in unlawful behaviour or commentary. As I open the meeting, I'll call for apologies. I've received one apology, and this is from Councillor Clark, and unfortunately, due to a family emergency, she's unable to attend this meeting. I'm applying for leave from the meeting, leave from the July briefing on Monday and the July council meeting on July 29th. Also, give my apologies for any other meetings I might miss and seek a leave of absence. Can I have a mover for that?
Councillor Adams, Madam Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Adams, seconder. Councillor Brown.
Councillor Brown.
All those in favour? Remember your green buttons, councillors. All those in favour? All those against? So in favour is, sorry, Councillor Page, you voting? Go to your participants buttons. Thank you, Councillor. It's a unanimous vote of accepting the apology. Thank you, councillors. Can I ask Councillor Adams to say the prayer?
Almighty God, we ask you to invoke your blessings upon this council. Direct and prosper our deliberations to the advancement and true welfare of the people of the council area, our state and Australia. Amen.
Thank you. And Councillor Gallagher, could you please do the acknowledgement of country?
Yes, I acknowledge the traditional owners upon the land upon which we meet and pay our respect to those elders, both past, present and emerging.
Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. We'll now move, and my apologies, councillors, I have a very bad cold. We'll now move to the minutes for confirmation. We have 4 lots of minutes, so I'm going to deal with the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the Council of the City of Broken Hill for Wednesday the 24th of June. Do I have a mover for those minutes? Moved by Councillor Adams, seconder. Councillor Gallagher. Is there any discussion? No discussion. I'll put the minutes, all those in favour? Against? Declare them carried. Thank you, councillors. We'll move to the minutes of the extraordinary meeting of the Council of the City of Broken Hill held Tuesday, June 30th, 2020. Do I have a mover for those minutes? Oh, sorry, I've just lost the participants button. Councillor Brown, seconder. Seconder. Councillor Gallagher. Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. Any discussion? No discussion. I'll put those minutes. It is Councillor Mayor Turley, Councillor LeCour, Councillor Adams, Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Nolan, Councillor Brown, Councillor Page, against Councillor Kennedy, Councillor Allgate. Thank you, councillors. I'll move to the minutes for the extraordinary meeting held Thursday the 9th of July 2020. Do I have a mover for them? Moved by Councillor Adams, seconder. Seconder, Councillor Brown. Thank you, councillors. Any discussion? No discussion. I'll put the minutes, all those in favour and against. Councillor Mayor Turley, Councillor LeCour, Councillor Adams, Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Nolan, Councillor Brown, Councillor Page, against is Councillor Allgate, Councillor Kennedy. Thank you, councillors. And the last lot of minutes is the minutes of the extraordinary meeting for July 20th, 2020. Do I have a mover for them? Moved by Councillor Adams, seconder. Sorry, seconder is Councillor Gallagher. All those in favour? So Councillor Mayor Turley, Councillor LaCour, Councillor Adams, Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Nolan, Councillor Brown, Councillor Page against, Councillor Kennedy and Councillor Allgate. Thank you, councillors. Do we have any disclosure? We'll move to item 6. Do we have any disclosures of interest? No? Yes, Councillor Kennedy. You have a disclosure of interest?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I declare a non-pecuniary interest in item 7. It is a non-significant non-significant conflict of interest, and I will stay in the room and I will vote.
Item 7.
Yeah.
Thank you, councillor. Thank you. We'll move to the Mayoral Minute. Sorry. The Mayoral Minute. Councillors, I move this Mayoral Minute, and this is great concern for all councils across Australia, relating to the fact that with the formation of the National Cabinet, local government has been excluded from the table, basically. So I move the Mayoral Minute. Do I have a seconder? No seconder. Councillor Adams. Thank you, Councillor Adams. Councillors, I'll just read out, what the motion was. That the Mayoral Minute number 9/20 dated 27th of July be received. That Council sends correspondence to the Premier of New South Wales, the Federal Member of Parks and the State Member for Barwon, highlighting the critical necessity for local government representation on the newly formed National Cabinet, and seeks their assistance in requesting that First Ministers review the decision to exclude local government. That Council seeks a meeting with our local, federal and state members to discuss in more detail the importance of having local government representation on the National Cabinet and the value of the partnership with councils in achieving the objectives of the National Cabinet and the National Reform Agenda. That Council notes that the Australian Local Government Association, Local Government New South Wales and other state and territory local government associations will continue to advocate for local government representation on the National Cabinet and for local government interest in all relevant forums. Councillor, this is the most important issue for all of us, and it is around the fact that for many years, I think since 1991, local government had a seat at the table and was able to participate in the conversation about national importance. We really, at this stage, with the National Cabinet being formed and not having the seat at the table as emergencies and lobbying is forming, we don't have the same participation. We don't get to have input into the agenda, and we certainly don't have a voice at that level, sitting with all the ministers discussing what the future impacts of local government is, what are the opportunities for local government, and what are the current controversies that we need input. This is a program that certainly we should be concerned about. We didn't have the opportunity to discuss it in Canberra in June because the meeting was cancelled, but I think this council shows strong leadership by actually supporting my Mayoral Minute. Is there any debate against the Mayoral Minute? No debate against. Councillor Kennedy?
Yes, I'll speak against, Madam Mayor. In principle, it may be a fine idea. My problem with this motion, my problem with national bodies in general is a lot of faith is put into groups that are so removed from Broken Hill itself. The Broken Hill City Council is elected to represent the views of the Broken Hill local government area. My concern with putting so much faith in these individuals that could be appointed to the National Cabinet is that they're speaking on behalf of our community. Our community has its representatives. If I knew the person that would be on the National Cabinet was supportive of the same views and principles that us as a council adhere to, I'd have no problem. The problem is we don't know who the person is that will be appointed to the National Cabinet. the person could be completely opposed to the things we stand for. And I am always reluctant to support anything that gives so much support to someone when they do not give, when we do not know their beliefs before they are there. That's why people are elected and people know exactly what's going on. We don't need some hidden person to be speaking on our behalf as members of the Broken Hill community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers for? No other speakers for? Well, just in my right, a reply. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Kennedy's debate about the hidden person, it is actually the national president of the Australian Local Government Association, and what they speak for is the policies that are developed at our national conference. These policies are based on what we submit as motions, and we as a council submit every year strong motions to that organisation. The issue for all of us is we go to conference, we participate in voting, we participate in the debate. So that president then represents those views, the views formed by local government and the views formed by this council when they represent council at the conference. They take that to the National Cabinet. It is critical for us to make sure we have a voice at the table and that we actually understand that local government must participate in these debates. Otherwise, as an organisation, as an industry, as local community, we will not be considered at all. Thank you for that. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? And against? Councillor in favour, Councillor Turley, Councillor Cool, Councillor Adams, Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Nolan, Councillor Brown, Councillor Page, against Councillor Allgate and Councillor Kennedy. Thank you, everyone. Item 8 is notice of motion for which none has been given. Item 9 is notice of rescission motion, which none have been given. Item 10 is reports from delegates, for which we have none. Item 11, we'll move to reports. Item 1 of reports, report number 94/20, page 23. This is consideration of the return of council meeting held in the council, the General Manager's report. Do I have a mover for this motion? Councillor Adams, is there a seconder? Councillor Brown? A few seconders. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Adams, do you want to speak to the motion?
I think it's quite clear, Madam Mayor. It's the recommendations 1, 2 and 3 really spell out the fact that whilst we we are in difficult times, even though earlier in the year, or about a month or so ago, we all indicated that we were prepared to go back to the chamber, and I think most of us still feel that way if we could do it safely. But given the situation throughout Victoria and New South Wales, and it would help us if it gets worse, I think that probably we are acting responsibly if we keep zooming for a while, and maybe. Please, let's hope that things may improve and it can be assessed before December.
Thank you, councillors. The speakers against, Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll move an amendment.
What's your amendment, councillor?
My amendment is 1, that the Broken Hill City Council report number 94/20 dated July 17, 2020 be received. 2, that council meetings are to be held in the council chamber. Starting from and including the August 2020 meeting.
Councillor,
3,
that's contrary to the current motion, so I can't.
No, it's not. Madam Mayor, it is contrary to the current motion. If I voted against it, it has the exact same effect. Contrary to the motion, an amendment is we are talking about a particular issue. If it was to be contrary and I voted against, Councillor Adams would have the same effect as my amendment, which it can't have the same effect. So if you could let me finish my amendment before you call it contrary to what's been said. That the chamber be updated to include access for councillors wishing to use virtual meeting. Number 4, sorry, Lisa, number 4, that the funding the expenditure required for this to come from the infrastructure loan. I move, that's it, Lisa, thanks. I move this amendment because what is quite clear from the comments from councillors is that all councillors were happy, other than Councillor Nolan, to return to the council chamber, and Councillor Nolan said soon but not yet. So even Councillor Nolan was not strongly opposed to returning to the council chamber. Councillor Adams stated that with what happened, Broken Hill still does not have a case of coronavirus. The borders have been stopped to Victoria. New South Wales has it under control, and if something changes, council can easily change that. The circulars from the Office of Local Government has made it clear that councillors can and should return to face-to-face meetings, but provide video conferencing for those councillors who deem it unsafe to attend face-to-face. I have no problem attending face-to-face, even if that means 9 of the 10 councillors want to appear via video conferencing. I am a councillor that is all for community involvement in meetings where decisions that are made by their councillors that have such an impact on the society. We, as a councillors gave the opinion that we all wanted to return. Then we receive a recommendation from the manager of the Broken Hill City Council, who virtually makes the decision to say, no, it shouldn't happen until December. We will look at it in December. We have Councillor Adams that says, oh, hopefully we may be able to look at it before
Councillor, I haven't
December.
got a seconder for your amendment. Is there a seconder?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I will accept it because it's about a time for return. Councillor Allgate seconded it. Sorry, I just needed to get a seconder for your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So it's important for us as councillors to show the community that councillors make the decisions when it comes to community involvement, community input. It looks very, very terrible, in my opinion, that councillors almost unanimously say they are happy to return to the council chambers, and then within a matter of a few weeks determine that we shouldn't even be considering this again until December. This is too important an issue to not include the public. As someone said to me very recently, democracy dies in darkness, and what's happening in Broken Hill at the moment is democracy's dying, and it's been hidden in untransparent and darkness. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Brown? Just unmute yourself, Councillor Brown.
Yes. Yes, Madam Mayor. This is not an issue about a principle. This is an issue about the health of our community and of the council.
We've just lost your sound a bit, Councillor Brown.
Just said that
Councillor Brown.
2 weeks ago when this question was circulated almost everyone was in favour of returning to the chamber. Since then, the situation...
Sorry, Councillor Brown, I can't hear you. Do you want to speak?
changed.
Sorry, Councillor Brown, I can't hear you. Do you want to speak? We've lost your sound a bit. So sorry, I just couldn't hear you from the beginning.
It's probably, I've
That's
taken
better.
these up because I can't speak when they're on.
Yeah, that's better. Thank you. Sorry about that.
I'm sorry about that. I'll just briefly repeat what I said. I don't believe this is a matter of a principle that we're debating. I think the basis of what Councillor Kennedy's objection seems to be the nature of democracy or the nature of decision making. I think the real issue is the safety of the councillors, council staff and the community. This is a health issue, first and foremost. When we were asked this question a few weeks ago, it is true that the majority of councillors did vote to return to the chamber, but since then the situation in Australia has changed. Currently, Sydney is a hotspot. Greater Sydney residents are no longer permitted to cross the border into Queensland, for example. There's no saying how that situation will change next week, let alone by the time of the next council meeting. So for that reason, I think this is a very prudent delay in our return to the chamber. I'm aware that there is an amount in the budget set aside to improve our recording and the speakers in the chamber, and I'm confident that that will be put in place during the current year. I think I don't see any reason really to bring that forward as a matter of extreme urgency. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any other speakers against or for the amendment? Speaking for the amendment, Councillor Allgate. Sorry, Councillor Allgate. Councillor Allgate, you need to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now. Thank you, Councillor.
What I started to say was I don't think there's a great deal of difference between what Councillor Kennedy has been moving and what was decided 3 weeks ago when we were all surveyed. The thing is that, yes, I agree with Councillor Brown. There have been changes to the situation in Victoria. There's no doubt about that. There have been changes in the Sydney metropolitan area and fears around that. But in Broken Hill, nothing has changed since the time that we were surveyed last time, 3 or 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Not a thing has been changed. There are, as far as I'm aware, there are no cases in Broken Hill. And given that there are no cases in Broken Hill, I can't see why the meetings can't be face-to-face. This business of a lockdown in a community where there are no cases has been so damaging to a lot of the traders in the town. It's just not funny. And for the council to approach face-to-face meetings with the view that the fear of an outbreak of coronavirus, that's what you address at the time if there is an outbreak. At the moment, there are none, and there have been none since those two particular people were first tested positive back quite some months ago. I can't see why we're not. I would be the most vulnerable person on the council probably because of my age, and I have no fear about attending the council chamber if in fact the social distancing regulations are put in place and the general expectations of safety in terms of health are maintained. And that's generally the position of the Department of or the Office of Local Government.
Thank you, Councillor. Is there any speakers against the amendment? No speakers against. I'll put Councillor Kennedy's amendment. All those in favour? Against? In favour, Councillor Kennedy, Councillor Page. Sorry, I'm just doing, I haven't had a chance to vote yet. In favour, Councillor Kennedy, Councillor Page and Councillor Allgate. Against, Mayor Turley, Mayor LaCour, Councillor Adams, Councillor Nolan, and did I miss anyone? Councillor Brown, you haven't voted yet. Thank you, and Councillor Brown. Did I capture all of them? I'll say that again. Sorry about this, councillors. You're lucky I'm not in the chamber with you tonight. Councillor Kennedy, Councillor Page and Councillor Allgate are in favour of the amendment. Councillor Turley, Councillor Cool, Councillor Adams, Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Nolan and Councillor Brown against. The amendment's lost. We'll now move to Councillor Adams. Councillor Adams's motion. Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll speak against the motion.
Sorry,
I speak against the motion.
Thank you, Councillor. Speaking against the motion.
Yes, I'll speak against the motion. Tonight's meeting's been a bit of a fiasco so far. There's been 3 or 4 people so far that have had technical issues and voicing their opinion. I've just timed out a couple of times. This is the problem with virtual meetings. It's very difficult for councillors to be involved and even more difficult for the community to be involved. I take note of Councillor Brown's comments earlier about safety of staff and safety of councillors. I'm looking at a screen here and there's 5 people in a room that is about 20 square metres in size. We have a council chamber that is well over 100 square metres in size. These are staff and some councillors that are there together in a small room as opposed to a council chamber that is significantly bigger. Councillor Brown may not have listened to the amendment properly, but it was so that video conferencing by councillors could be still used. So if Councillor Brown was so fearful of her safety, she could, of course, video conference in, and that goes the same for all other councillors. As was heard tonight by the councillor that would be by far the most at risk, and not for just himself but his loved ones, made it quite clear that he would be willing to attend council meetings in person at the council chamber where social distancing takes place, hand sanitizer is available, all the things that are going on in every other place in Broken Hill at the moment. To suggest that council staff and councillors are safer in a room that is approximately 20 square metres as opposed to over 100 square metres reeks of hypocrisy. And the reality is the community watch, listen and judge all councillors and the council as a whole when we make decisions that are so easily seen to be hypocritical. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Is there any speakers for the motion? No speakers for. Councillor Adams, you're right to reply.
I think everything has been said. To be said that there are decisions that we will all make based on what we believe is right for all of the councillors and the community and staff. So we'll vote in the way we think we'll vote.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? All those in favour? Mayor Turley, Councillor Page, you haven't voted yet. Mayor Turley, Councillor Cool, Councillor Adams, Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Nolan, Councillor Brown, against, Councillor Kennedy, Councillor Page and Councillor Allgate. Thank you, councillors. We'll now move to item 2 of the report. I should just come back to that and tell you after, councillors. Item 2 of the report, and that is Broken Hill City Council Report number 95/20, page 30. Do I have a mover for this?
Councillor Nolan, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Nolan, second by Councillor Brown. Okay, Councillor Nolan, do you want to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think this policy is a great example of due consideration. It was subject to some examination, some modification. It's had the due period on public display, and now it's ready for adoption. And I think it's a classic case of us doing it properly. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any speakers against? No speakers against. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Okay, Councillor Cool, you haven't voted yet. Okay, I'll just go through the list. All those in favour: Councillor Kennedy, Councillor Brown, Councillor Nolan, Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Adams, Councillor Cool, and Mayor Turley. Against, Councillor Allgate and Councillor Page. Thank you, councillors. That motion is carried. We'll now move to item 3, report number 96/20. This is relating to the policy for the mobile food vehicles, temporary food stalls and hawking policy, page 49. Do I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Brown. Seconder, Councillor Gallagher. Councillor Brown, do you want to speak to the motion?
I actually would like to move an amendment to that recommendation, Madam Mayor. There are a number of matters in this draft policy that do concern me. We had an opportunity on Monday to put some questions about specifically the intention behind this, and I still have some real concerns about the impact that some of these parts of the policy will have on a number of volunteer groups. So I would like to defer consideration of this until we have a workshop so that we can kind of discuss this in a bit more detail.
Okay. Councillor Gallagher, you second that. Are you still happy to second Councillor Brown's motion? So it's a deferment motion. And I can't see your head, Councillor. I've got the screen in front of me. So if you could just raise your hand.
Yes, I'm happy with that, Madam Mayor.
Your blue hand. Oh, speak. Yep, you're okay to do. You're still seconding that. Thank you, Councillor Adams. Okay, thank you, Councillor Adams.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I was just wondering whether Councillor Brown did receive the email that was sent out today, which replied to a lot of the questions from the briefing about this ABA or not, and whether that's why she's still got concerns, because a lot were answered in that.
I think she still has concerns.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I still have concerns. I did read those.
Yep. Okay, so that's deferred. The motion is defer consideration of the draft policy until a council workshop is held. Okay, thank you, councillors. I'll put that motion. Oh, sorry, Tom, you want to speak against it? Sorry, I can't put the motion. I just realised Tom had his hand up. Councillor, you're speaking against?
Yes, I'll speak against it. I'm a bit like Councillor Brown as far as there is a fair few unanswered questions in that document. What that makes abundantly clear to me, and should make it clear to other councillors, is that council needs to return to its standing committees, and we need to deal with these things as councillors. The recommendations coming to council meetings should be from councillors, not council staff. It takes the personal effects of what comes to council meetings away from the recommendations that come to council. If we had standing committees, these things would be taken care of before they come to council. They'd be decisions of council. What we'd be seeing here tonight is not a recommendation of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It would have been a recommendation from the committee to defer. That is much more practical. It also gives a much more confident view to the community in what councillors are doing, instead of getting recommendations from staff and then councillors voting against it. Gives the perception of, can give the perception of councillors maybe not working together or councillors not working with staff. So this points out a perfect opportunity and a perfect example of why councillors should be using standing committees instead of just having a council meeting. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, councillor. Is there any speakers for the deferment motion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Against, Councillor Allgate, Councillor Kennedy. In favour, Mayor Turley, Councillor LaCool, Councillor Adams, Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Nolan, Councillor Brown and Councillor Page. Thank you, councillors. We'll now move to item 4. This is report number 97/20, page 56. It is the draft smoke-free playgrounds and sporting reserves policy. Do I have a mover? Councillor Adams, seconder. Councillor Brown. Councillor Adams, do you want to speak to this motion?
Just that this is an upgrade of what's been in place for quite some time, Madam Mayor, and you know, it's all about trying to improve the health of the people within the community, particularly around their sporting complexes and parks and so on. So I think it's a good policy.
Thank you. Speakers against? Councillor Kennedy. Councillor, I'm just going to turn my heater on. So Councillor Kennedy, against.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I'll speak against it. I'm not against having rules about smoking around playgrounds and sporting fields, etc., etc. The reality is smoking zones are policed by the health department. Rarely will you find the health department around sporting grounds. That's the reality. What these smoking policies do is cause conflict within the associations and the sporting grounds that are then expected to police these, or people think they're going to police these. It always turns to, in my opinion, and I am involved in a lot of organisations to do with sporting, particularly quite a few. And the reality is you'll have one group of people that think they know what they're speaking about, who try to enforce it on another group of people, and it causes chaos. The health department is the only one that can enforce this policy. So when council writes these policies, they need to be written in a way that it is capable for them to be policed without causing undue stress on the associations or the sporting grounds that are leased to other groups, and the impact it will have on them. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Is there any speakers for the motion? No. Councillor Adams, do you want to write a reply?
No, Madam Mayor, I think it's quite clear.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? So all those in favour are Councillor Page, Councillor Brown, Councillor Nolan, Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Adams, Councillor Cool, Councillor Allgate, Mayor Turley. Against is Councillor Kennedy. Thank you, councillors. Declared that carried. Move to item 5. This is the Broken Hill City Council report, date number 98/20, page 61. It's the Public Art Policy for Public Exhibitions. Sorry, councillors. We do have an amendment that was included in this, and I understand, I just seek clarity from the General Manager So we do have that, and I'm probably misleading on this one. There was an addendum that was included in this, and that is that the draft public policy be amended prior to being placed on public exhibition to include as follows. To clarify, reference is made to the publicity facing art and private property where projects do not require development consent. No additional approval is required, but council guidance is available and recommended. And B, to indicate that the chairperson be one of the two independent panel members on the interdepartment group panel co-opted from the Broken Hill Regional Art Gallery Advisory Committee. Councillor Brown's moving that way. Do I have a seconder? Seconder is Councillor Cool. Councillor Brown, do you want to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you for clarifying that the matter of that addendum to that policy. It was originally distributed. I think I did have some concerns about what I saw as being some areas of vagueness about that, but I think this kind of pins it down. There will be an opportunity, obviously, for the public to comment on this, but I'm pretty happy with this. It's been a long time coming, we all know, but this is a good start anyway.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor speaking against, Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question before I speak against. Where was this addendum written from? It's nowhere in my business paper about number 5.
It's up on your screen.
Yeah, where did it come from?
It came in late from the council staff. I'll ask Mr. General Manager to provide an update on that.
No, Madam Mayor, it actually was a question arising from Monday night's briefing, and all that information was circulated out to councillors first thing Tuesday morning.
Oh, very interesting, Madam Mayor. I thought briefings weren't for making decisions or debating or coming up with addendums or amendments. Very interesting.
Councillor Kennedy, the Mayor is speaking. Firstly, I wasn't at that meeting.
I have to be able to hear you.
And so you can hear me. I know you can hear me. So when I speak, I take the floor. So firstly, I wasn't at that meeting. It was circulated to be considered tonight. It was not endorsed at that meeting. It was to be considered tonight as part of the motion. So thank you for that. So you're speaking against?
Yes, I'm speaking against, and thanks for interrupting again.
I am the chair, Councillor.
Very respectful of the chair. When a councillor asks the question about an item and we're told that things done at briefings shouldn't then be brought up, but it had been brought up. So thanks again for showing respect for
Councillor Kennedy. Can I just say, you continue to show disrespect to the chair. I am trying to lead this process through the meeting and explain to you, I'm not sure if you were at the briefing on Monday night, I wasn't, but there was an email sent around the next day for consideration for the meeting. No decision was made and it was to be considered today. So please don't mislead what has actually happened. So go ahead. Thank you, Councillor.
Well, it seems like there was a decision. It's before my eyes. But anyway, I don't know how it got there if there wasn't a decision. But anyway, I'll speak against them. I'll move an amendment. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
What's your amendment, Councillor?
My amendment is to 6.1, roles and responsibilities of the policy. It is to be amended that.
Sorry, what page, Councillor?
65, page 3 of 16 of the policy.
Yep. What's your amendment?
So the amendment is 6.1, roles and responsibilities. So all kept the same except for the panel will include. So this is where I'll change it. The following skills, experience of council staff. The staff members that are included will be non-voting advisory members only of the panel, and that an additional voting panel of 15 members of the Broken Hill community be selected by council to serve for 2 years. Thank you. That's the amendment, and I'll speak in favour of the amendment if I can get a seconder.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Allgate, second your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move this amendment. What was quite obvious to me quite quickly was this policy would be considered equivocal in language. The policy talks about an open, transparent, where the community decides. There's a vast array of different arts and people more or less judge them on different principles. We as a community are talking about a public art policy viewed by the public in public areas that should be decided by the public. We are now talking about a 2-panel or a 5-panel, 3 of them being council employees and 2 being so-called independent persons. The community made it quite clear recently meaning within the last couple of years, about the mural that was on the Natrapan surgery. It caused significant angst to the community at the time. This could have been easily avoided by a panel that incorporates a significant cross-section of the community. There's no point in having a policy that states more or less that art's in the eyes of the beholder, and then we limit it to a range of thinking from a single group of people. You are not going to get public art that is in the town, that represents the community, when you limit to such a narrow range of thinking. We as a council need to encourage people to be involved in public art, and the best way to do that is to involve as many members of the community in looking at proposals that become before council about public art, instead of leaving it to a few who may have a different view than the vast majority of people in this community. A similar instance happened with the gateway signage. I can assure all councillors here tonight, regardless of what they think, the community were and are not happy with the gateway signage that councillors selected. We, as a community and as councillors, need to leave these important public decisions to a panel that then comes back to council. I would have much more faith in a community-based panel as opposed to a council employee base that could leave council, again, open to critical review from the Broken Hill community. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Sorry, I just missed that last bit, as opposed to council employee. What did you say?
No, I said as opposed to council employees who could then have the community blame them for decisions that have been made instead of an independent body. I would not like to see council held responsible, again, as it has been with the Broken Hill murals and the gateway signage.
Thank you, councillor. Speakers against the amendment? Councillor Brown?
Yes, just briefly, Madam Mayor. I think that Councillor Kennedy, if he reads further down the recommendation, what is proposed is that the report that this committee would be, the process would be that report would be presented to council and council would make the final decision. I also make the point that we already have an Art Gallery Advisory Committee which which consists of a cross-section of interested members of the public who volunteer their time for the term of a council meeting, at least term of council, and maybe more than one term, to consider these issues, and there's no reason why they wouldn't be involved further down in the process before that the expert panel or the technical panel, if you like, considers any individual process. So I think that's already there. That process is already there with involvement by interested and members of the public.
Thank you, Councillor. So I have Councillor Kennedy's amendment. I'll put Councillor Kennedy's amendment. All those in favour? Against? All those in favour, Councillor Kennedy, Councillor Page, Councillor Allgate. Against, Councillor Brown, excuse me, sorry, councillors, Councillor Cool, Councillor Adams, Councillor Gallagher and Councillor Nolan. The amendment's lost. I'll move to the motion. We'll go back to the motion. As there's no further, Councillor Brown, you move the motion. Do you want to write a reply?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, I'll put the original motion. All those in favour and against? So against is Councillor Kennedy, Councillor Page and Councillor Allgate. In favour is Councillor Brown, Councillor Nolan, Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Adams, Councillor LeCool and Mayor Turley. Thank you, councillors. We'll move to item 6, which is report number 99/20. This is the investment report for June. Do I have a mover for that? Moved by Councillor LeCool. There's a seconder. Sorry, I don't think that is. I think Councillor LeCool's vote hasn't been cleared. Do I have a mover for the investment report? No movers? Councillor Adams, seconder. Seconder. Councillor LeCool. Thank you, Councillor LeCool. Councillor Adams, do you want to speak to the report?
No, Madam Mayor, it's clear.
Okay, speakers against? Councillor Brown? You wanted to raise something? So I've got Councillor Brown. No. Councillor Brown, did you want to speak? Or was that Councillor Allgate? Okay, nobody. I'll put the vote. All those in favour? Thank you, councillors. It's a unanimous vote. Council, we're up to the development application. I understand, Councillor. Councillor, did you declare what type of, sorry, I didn't get that, what type of reason for your disclosure of interest? I didn't record that, Councillor Kennedy.
Yeah, non-significant one, Madam Mayor.
Related to anyone or?
Yes, wife's relation.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
My wife's relation, relative.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move to item 7 and report number 100/20, page 94. This is development application, construction, a new supermarket, including facade, signage, freestanding signs, car parking, shades, new landscaping and trees. Sorry, did you say your wife's relative for this? Okay.
Yes,
so,
Madam
sorry about that. Councillor Nolan is moving that way. Seconder.
Oh, sorry.
So
my wife's relative in another business, not the same business.
Oh, okay. Is that your, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, not in the same business, no, Madam Mayor. Another
Okay.
business that may be impacted.
Okay. So, Councillor Nolan moved that way. Councillor Gallagher seconding it. Councillor Nolan, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. It's always difficult when new business wants to come to town. However, given that Aldi sells predominantly its own lines, which are Australian sourced, and given that they have a tendency to sharpen Coles and Woolworths, I do mean the other major supermarkets, and given that they don't present a full range of lines, it leaves room for other competitors in the market. And on that basis, on the basis that they'll be retaining significant trees along the main street, side street there, and it does add up. And finally, yes, I would have preferred it out the south. However, Aldi like to locate next to or close to other full-service supermarkets so that people can then move across and do the rest of their shopping, because Aldi don't carry a full range of lines. And for that reason, I can see why they've located where they have. But in general, it's good for Broken Hill and still leaves room for other competitors. And finally, should we suffer a further loss of population, and I hope we don't, because we all want to see Horses Carpentaria and other developments go ahead, but should our population diminish a little further, at least we've got them now, and they'll stay because they've made the investment. I'll leave it there. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Is there any speakers against? No speakers?
Yes, my hand's up.
No, I was just going to say, didn't you declare a conflict of interest?
And said I would speak, I would stay in the room, vote and participate in the thing.
Sorry,
I declared a non-significant conflict of interest.
I thought that you were going to stay in the room, but you weren't going to participate. No, sorry, Councillor, I just wrote something different down. So please go ahead, Councillor.
I'll move an amendment, Madam Mayor.
What's your amendment, Councillor?
That number one, that the Broken Hill City Council report number 100/20 dated July 9, 2020 be received. Yep. The council engage an independent third party to prepare a report on the effect the development application 41/2020 will have on existing businesses. 3, what effect will the development have on the location? 4, whether the development would be better suited to another part of town, including South Broken Hill. 5, will the development be a net positive or negative to the community? 6, what effect will it have on foot traffic in Argent Street? And I'll talk to it if I get a seconder, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you for that. Just Councillor Allgate seconded your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move this because it is a significant proposal. We are a declining population that may not be able to cater to 3 big chains, being Woolworths, Coles and Aldi. I, like many, would like to see Aldi come like to see as many businesses as possible come, but not if those businesses result in closing of existing businesses and impact the community in a detrimental way. I also believe that it could have real potential on reducing foot traffic in Argent Street, which is what council is attempting to do. In fact, the speakers actually mentioned that foot traffic may increase around the area that Audi is built, and we even had Councillor Nolan talk about other areas, that other businesses that end up building around that area, which will significantly reduce or potentially reduce foot traffic in Broken Hill. They also made the statement that they like to be close to other shopping centres because it is a shop that is for top-up shopping. That means that the businesses that are going to be most significantly impacted are the businesses that are not around that area, which includes businesses such as those that are around Argent Street, Glen Street, and the main shopping precinct. We, as a council, don't need to stop this, but I think as a council we need to know beforehand what significant impact Audi's going to have on the structure of the whole of Broken Hill and its existence as a community. What I was told is that the Labor Party has always been a party of town planning. Well, this is an opportunity for particularly 5 councillors to make sure our town planning benefits all of Broken Hill. I would not like to put a dampener on Audi, and I'm supportive of Audi, but not if it means destroying existing businesses to do it. So I would hope that councillors at least consider the amendment that I have put forward and haven't become so focused on what they'd already decided to consider an alternative viewpoint. Thank you.
Councillor, is there a speaker against the amendment? Councillor Brown? Councillor Brown, anything against the amendment?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I'm not clear whether Councillor Kennedy is suggesting that the report that was commissioned by Aldi is not to be trusted, because the report that's in front of us contains the findings of that particular review, and specifically, as I recall, it stated that the major impact would be on the major supermarkets, that is Coles and Woolworths, rather than the existing smaller supermarkets in town, which I assume Councillor Kennedy is particularly concerned about. So unless we say that those findings are not to be trusted, then a lot of that information is already contained in the report. It also suggested, I think from memory, that basically that people's habits wouldn't, their shopping habits wouldn't be significantly changed, but because of the location, I suppose that it would affect to a degree Coles and Woolworths, but because of the size of the project, probably not even that to a great extent. Nor as far as other specialty shops in the city, because of the way that they manage their specials, that would be fairly transient, and that would come, they would come and go, but that wouldn't again change the impact on on local businesses. I mean, I'm certainly not unsympathetic to. I'm very sympathetic to the importance of keeping the businesses that have stuck by Broken Hill, but I believe that question is addressed in the report. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Speakers for the amendment? Councillor Allgate.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Brown mentioned that Aldi say that the shopping activities wouldn't be significantly changed. If Aldi thought that, they wouldn't be coming here. Aldi are coming here to make money, and there's no doubt about it. They will draw a very good following because they do everywhere they go. Admittedly, they don't always cut across the other supermarket chains in terms of the products they sell and the specials that they have and whatever. But I am really concerned. First and foremost, I'm not convinced that the existing position is the best position. But apart from that, as a ratepayer, as a born and bred Broken Hill person, I don't want to see supermarkets that are operated effectively by Broken Hill people who are the owners are endangered in any way. I mean, there's little doubt in my mind that if a third large supermarket comes into Broken Hill, the other three supermarkets, independent supermarkets that are locally owned and operated and employ staff, will suffer. There's no two ways about that. And that's already been mooted that they are worried, really worried already. I certainly would welcome Aldi or any development coming into town, but I can't see anything wrong with going to a third party who's independent from somebody that's at arm's length to everything that happens in Broken Hill, to give an independent view on what they would expect, given that we approve or whatever, all Aldi to operate. I mean, Councillor Nolan hit the nail on the head early in the piece. Of course, Aldi would make a fortune, one would think, if they reopened the Coles complex out at the south, but obviously the Coles people won't sell that to anybody in competition to themselves. But to have the three supermarkets all within a few hundred metres of each other, competing with three locally owned businesses, I can't see that there won't be significant suffering by the local community with the loss of maybe one or two of those independently owned businesses. And that's a real concern for me. Local people have expended an absolute fortune over the years in establishing big, worthwhile operations and serve the community extremely well, are well positioned in the town in terms of location, and all that is going to be put at risk as far as I'm concerned. I'm in favour of Councillor Kennedy's, I was in favour of Councillor Kennedy's motion amendment, because let's throw it out to a third party and see what they say. If they say that Councillor Kennedy and I are wrong, well, we be guided by that. Aldi are not going to give you a report that says that what they do is going to impinge on anybody else. Of course, they're going to say that what they do is different to everybody else and won't have any effect on other businesses. They're in the business of establishing a business. They'll run the business extremely well. They'll have a good patronage. There's no doubt about that, and the community will benefit. But other people in the community might suffer really big losses.
Thank you. I'm just going to check with Councillor Nolan. Councillor Nolan, Councillor Kennedy had an amendment. Are you happy to include this? I mean, we can move forward with the amendment. I'm just thinking about what you're thinking as the original mover of the motion. And I'm so sorry, councillors.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As I've said when I moved it, it's always difficult thinking about the balance when a new business comes to town, weighing the pros and cons and so on. That's something that I've considered for quite some time since Aldi first discussed the idea of coming to town. We will all recall the issue of how they need to develop the site and waste disposal from that construction and building process. So it's been on all of our minds for a while. And look, in fairness, considering the impact that Coles had when they opened, both good and bad, I think that Councillor Kennedy raises a good point. We should defer this pending some independent investigation. We're not saying no, but we're just saying let's look into the effects of this. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
To move it forward, I see Councillor Adams wants to raise it. I'm going to move with Councillor Kennedy's amendment, but councillors, I just have to turn my heater off because my temperature is swinging like you wouldn't believe. So sorry about that, councillors. It's just Councillor. So we're staying with Councillor Kennedy's amendment at the moment. Councillor Adams, you're speaking against the amendment.
Yes, Madam Mayor. I think we're getting to a point where this is. I'm getting totally confused because actually the regulations actually tell us that it is important to note that development, assessment and decisions cannot be based on assumptions of thinking what may or may not occur. And previous to that, it also says that the impact on proposed development upon private individual traders is not a proper environmental or planning consideration. So we actually have to base our decision here on facts, which includes legislation, because otherwise this will go on and will be taken, I would assume, to the land environment, and we'll be told that we're wrong, as has been, happens in other places.
Thank you, Councillor. Actually, that's quite true. We have to make it on the planning. Okay, so any further speakers for the amendment? If not, I'm going to put the amendment. So the amendment is Councillor, I'm so sorry, councillors, you're lucky, as I said, you're lucky you're not in the room with me. For the amendment is Councillor, sorry about this. I'm trying to vote and I can't get my vote out. Can't get my throat working and I can't get my vote working. For the amendment is Councillor Kennedy and Councillor Allgate. Against is Councillor Page, Councillor Brown, Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Adams, Councillor Nolan and Mayor Turley. It kept popping up, sorry. So the amendment's been lost. We'll now move to the motion. And Councillor Nolan, you are the official mover of the motion. Do you want to write a reply? No?
Oh, thank you, Madam Mayor.
I'll put the motion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think we've had a robust discussion either way. Councillor Kennedy made a good point, but so did Councillor Adams. So I'm going to stay with the original. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? I don't know if my computers decide to freeze up. All those in favour? Against? Oh, sorry, Councillor Kennedy, do you had a question? But it's...
Yes, Madam Mayor, I do have a question, but you didn't give councillors an opportunity to speak against the motion. That was the amendment. The motion, there's been no arguments for or against the motion. I just want to clarify a point that Christine or Councillor Adams made about speaking about businesses. In the amendment, there's nothing spoken about other businesses. It was what it will effect have on the location. Is it better suited to another area? Will it be a net positive or negative for the community? What effect will it have on foot traffic in Argent Street? I don't know where Councillor Adams got the idea that it was something about the impact it would have on other businesses. It was about having the impact on the Broken Hill community as a whole, which does not breach the legislation whatsoever, can be argued quite well in the Land and Environment Court. So I think if we're going to put arguments forward, they need to be honest and straightforward in what's written there. Nothing about how it will affect other businesses. Nowhere in that amendment does it mention other businesses. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, may I ask a question?
Wait on, I want to do the vote first. Is the question relating to this?
It's relating to the amendment as printed. Okay, but that's fine. That was lost, but I just noted that point 2 on that said the report would be looking at the effect the development application would have on existing businesses. So I'm a little confused.
No, we're putting your original motion, Councillor.
I was just a little confused given what Councillor Kennedy has just mentioned.
That was because he was speaking against... Sorry, can you hear me? That's because he was speaking against your original motion. So we're putting the motion, the original motion moved by Councillor Nolan, second by Councillor Kennedy. Oh, sorry,
Madam
second
Mayor,
by Councillor
Councillor
Gallagher.
Adams has her hand up.
Councillor Adams?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, there was this amendment to condition number 47 where there was a request that the hours of operation for trading to the public are restricted to the times listed, making them 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. instead of the 9 p.m. so that they would be the same trading hours as other.
I'm just going to deal with that as because we've already started the vote. I'm going to do that with a second motion because I just think that we've already started the vote and that, you know, it may be easy if I just have a second motion around that. What do you think, Mr. General Manager, or can I incorporate it into there? Or was it incorporated into Councillor Nolan's motion?
Madam Mayor, I think Councillor Kennedy made the point around speakers for and against, and I believe Councillor Kennedy spoke against, so we would be up to a speaker for, which we could take Councillor Adams, for instance, if you wish to, in relation to the matter that she's raised. But then before we go to Councillor Nolan for a right of reply.
Goodness me.
Coming in and out. So okay, let's start this again. Just to make it so we're very clear, I'm going to deal with the motion that was recommended, but I'm going to check with Councillor with the councillors. Was anybody not clear that it included the amendment of time? Everybody believed it was including the amendment of time. Okay, so that was included in the motion. So that is clear with everybody. I'll ask again. Okay, so we're voting on the motion including the time of operation.
May I speak, Madam Mayor, regarding the time issue?
Yes.
Simply that, no, I did miss that bit. However, since it was mentioned, the operating times that Aldi has requested are the operating times that Aldi wants. We may approve them to stay open until 10 o'clock at night, but we can't require any business to stay open when they don't want to, and they don't want to. And the only reason I say that is I've shopped at many Aldi supermarkets over 2 different states. That is the operating hours. If it's no problem to have the 10 o'clock, but I believe they only wish to open to the times that they've said.
Madam Mayor, if I may, just with respect to Councillor Nolan's comment, at the briefing session on Monday night when Audi addressed the council, they did ask if that condition 47 could be altered to a 9 o'clock close as opposed to to a 10 o'clock close as opposed to a 9 o'clock close, and that information was circulated out to councillors.
Oh, through you, Madam Mayor, thank you very much for that clarification.
And that is consistent with Coles and Woolworths. Those times are consistent with Coles and Woolworths. And as you said, Councillor Nolan, you may have that time, but you may not always operate under that time. And we see with other operators, they will choose as the season comes into Christmas, they'll have an extended hour. As we're in winter, they'll have a lesser hour, but they're just requiring that operating hours. So, okay, we are understanding what we are voting on. I will put the vote. All those in favour, all those against, please vote. Okay, Councillor Kennedy, Councillor Allgate against, Councillor Page, Councillor Brown, Councillor Nolan, Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Adams, Councillor LeCour, and Mayor Turley for. Thank you, councillors, for your patience with that one. And I don't know why, but I've lost service in and out just for that time. And so my apologies for that. We'll now move to item 8, report number 101/20. And this is the sale of 118 Brown Street. Do I have a mover for that? So it was moved by Councillor Gallagher, was it?
Yes.
And second by Councillor Nolan.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Gallagher, do you want to speak to the motion?
No, Madam Mayor, I reserve my right.
Okay, Councillor Kennedy, do you want to speak against the motion?
Move an amendment, Madam Mayor.
What's your amendment, Councillor?
As written, except at number 3.
Yep.
The General Manager be authorised to negotiate a finalised sale of 118 Brown Street for within a percentage determined by council at a confidential session.
What's that percentage, Councillor?
Well, it wouldn't be very good to tell people what the percentage would be. I think it probably needs to be stated in confidential.
That's your amendment, seconded by Councillor Allgate. Is there a seconder?
Yes.
Thank you, Councillor Allgate.
I move that because council needs to determine how much less they're going to take when we have a market value of over $100,000. I think it's pretty important that council set the boundaries of what's an acceptable offer and what's not. I wouldn't think that the general manager would accept an offer too low, but the reality is that council needs to set the parameters from what the general manager works within, and we need to set how low a price we're willing to take. It is a significant amount of money that we're talking about, and that has a significant impact on the council's bottom line. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, councillor. Speakers against? No speakers against? Speakers against the amendment? No speakers against the amendment. Councillors, I'll put the amendment. All those in favour? Against? I'll read this out. All those against the amendment is Councillor Page, Councillor Brown. Sorry, I just have to go through. Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Adams, Councillor LeCool, and did I miss anyone? Councillor Brown, Councillor Page, Councillor Adams, Councillor LeCool, and who did I miss? And Councillor Gallagher. In favour was Councillor Nolan, Mayor Turley, Councillor Kennedy, and Councillor Allgate. So the amendment's lost. So we'll move to the motion. That is there any speakers for the motion? Sorry, you spoke for let's have your right to reply. Any speakers against the motion? No. Do you want to clear the hands, Mr. General Manager? Or if I disappeared again. Is there any speakers against the motion? No speakers against. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? And against. So for the motion, Mayor Turley, Councillor LeCool, Councillor Adams, Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Nolan, Councillor Brown and Councillor Page. Against, Councillor Kennedy, Councillor Allgate. Thank you, councillors. We'll now move to the Traffic Committee, item 9, report number 102/20. Do I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Brown. Seconder? Seconder? Councillor Adams. Councillor Brown, do you want to speak to the minutes?
No, Madam Mayor. It's fine.
Okay, speakers against? No speakers against. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? That's a unanimous vote. Thank you, councillors. We move now to report item 10, Broken Hill City Council report number 103/20. This is the action list. Do I have a mover? Councillor Adams. Seconder? Seconder is Councillor Brown. Oh, no, Councillor
Gallagher.
Gallagher. Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. Councillor Adams, do you want to speak to the motion?
Just a little mention what I've mentioned before, Madam Mayor, that it's a shame that the projects that are sitting waiting are not due to council, but the other partners not getting back to us with the required paperwork, and that's just a shame and disappointing.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. Speakers against? No speakers against. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Declared it carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Move to item the committee reports. Questions taken on notice. Do I have a mover? Mover for questions taken on notice.
Councillor McCall, Councillor Adams.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cool, did you want to speak to the motion?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. No, I think that's pretty much the response I thought. I have taken on board that the General Manager has given assurance that he'll look further into the matter. So hopefully we can come up with some sort of degree. They're just making so much of a mess and they're destroying the parts of the amenity of that park with the mess they create. Thanks.
Okay, Councillor Gallagher.
No,
You're still on mute.
no comments.
No comment.
No, not at all.
Okay, just you had the hand was still up. Okay, speakers against? No speakers against. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? That's declared unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Questions for next meeting arising from items on this agenda? Any questions, councillors, that we haven't collected already? Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just on budgetary items, could we have a report on the costs for the defence against the USU union in the commission? Thank you.
Thanks, councillor. No further questions. We'll move on to confidential. We'll move into confidential. Do I have a mover to go into confidential? No mover to go in confidential. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Gallagher, second by Councillor Brown. All those in favour? All those in favour, press vote with your green button. And against? Thank you. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you, councillors. We'll move out of camera and I'll ask the General Manager to read out the motions. Thanks,
Madam Mayor. The first item in confidential, Williama Common Trust lease of part lot 7421 of DP 1183597 to Axicom Proprietary Limited. Resolved by Council that 1, the Broken Hill City Council report number 10420 dated June 23, 2020 be received. Excuse me. 2, that the Williama Common Trust lease part lot 7421 DP of 1183597 being telecommunications compound on the line of load to Axicom Proprietary Limited for a period of 20 years for telecommunication purposes. 3, that the annual rent be $12,000 per annum with an annual 2.5% increase. And 4, that the Mayor and General Manager be authorised to sign and execute the lease documents under the common seal of Council in the absence of a trust seal. Item number 2, Madam Mayor, the Williama Common Trust licence of part lot 37315 of DP 1183447 to Broken Hill Speedway Club. Resolved by Council that the Broken Hill City Council report number 10520 dated July 1, 2020 be received. 2, the Council as Trust Manager for the Williama Common Trust lease part lot 7315 in deposited plan 118347 to the Broken Hill Speedway Club for the purpose of a motocross track extension and associated access. 3, that the lease term be 25 years and the annual rental be the minimum Crown Lands rental. And 4, that the Mayor and General Manager be authorised to sign and execute any documents under the Common Seal of Council in the absence of a trust seal. And item number 3, Madam Mayor, Civic Centre litigation. Resolved by Council that Broken Hill City Council report number 10620 dated July 21, 2020 be received. 2, that Council adopt option 2 and further commit to proceed with litigation. And 3, Council adopt an increase in budget in accordance with option 2 as detailed within the report. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr General Manager. Thank you, councillors, for your attendance, and to staff tonight. I'll close the meeting. Thanks, everyone.